Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a really fine new recording of a novel work, Alan Hovhaness' second violin concerto. It's for violin and string orchestra in 7 movements. It's really quite an interesting piece, actually. Though it's only 21 minutes long in 7 movements, and the movements are, let me tell you what they're called so that we can get this straight. Here we go. Pastoral, aria, then allegro, then another aria, presto, recitative and lullaby, and last but not least, hymn. The movements are only a few minutes long each. They're all interconnected. Hovaness gets a lot of guff because he was insanely prolific, and because so much of his music sounds like so much else of his music. He was kind of like Bruckner, only if Bruckner had written hundreds and hundreds of pieces. People say, Bruckner wrote the same symphony 9 times. Well, Hovaness is kind of like that. He had a style. It's resolutely tonal, often modal in its inflections and its modal harmonies, sort of antique sounding, ancient sounding, also Eastern exotic sounding, which some people think can sound sort of cheesy or tacky. And sometimes it does. We have to be honest about these things. But on the other hand, it's music of great simplicity and honesty. And it's more contemporary than you think. In other words, he really was a well-trained composer who did a lot of traveling all over the world. He understood a lot about world musics, and he incorporated that understanding into his own. So there are passages that are without rhythm, that are freely improvisatory. There are passages in very unusual meters. There are all kinds of strange and interesting harmonies. He uses tone clusters and all that, but within a style which is, his own particular recipe, his own brand. And so when you hear a work of his, you're likely to say, oh my, I know it's Hovaness. I've heard that a million times. But it's affecting. He's a wonderful melodist. He really is. He writes beautiful, beautiful melodies, wonderful tunes that are, people listen to them and they would say, ooh, yeah, it's a lovely melody. He's not ashamed of any of that. That's probably one of the reasons that he gets picked on by people who are not melodists, to put it kindly. Let's put it that way. Anyway, the second violin concerto is a lovely work, and it's extremely well played here by Zina Schiff, fine violinist, and the Salzburg chamber soloists under Eisenberg, who happens to be her daughter, actually, if I'm not mistaken, and they've collaborated before on other discs, which have also been very, very interesting, devoted to unusual repertoire. There are also then, after we get the concerto, a whole pile of things for violin and piano, play accompanied by Valerie Stark, piano, who certainly knows what she's doing. And we get, let's see, what do we get? We get The Dream, Veraz, it's also called, Opus 56, number 2, which these are short works, 5 minutes. The Kyrgyz Suite, Opus 73, number 1, which has 3 movements, and it lasts only about 6 minutes. Then we have Les Beaux, which is, let me see, Opus 261, you believe it. His Violin Sonata, Opus 11, from 1937. So these come from all different periods. It's 1937, Les Beaux is 1973, the Concerto is 1951 through 57. 3 Visions of Saint Mesrob, Opus 189. That's 3 movements lasting about 8.5 minutes. Varrock, which is Opus 47A from 1944. And last, Lullaby, Opus 1, 1926. 1922 to 1926, actually. It's arranged here for violin, strings, and harp. It's only 2 minutes and 55 seconds long, but you wish it were longer. Really, it's just attractive, lovely music. And, the best thing about Zina Schiff's performances, frankly, is that she plays the music with the simplicity and honesty that it deserves. She doesn't, she's not trying to be a hotshot virtuoso. It's not really hotshot virtuoso music in the obvious way. She has a lovely tone. She sings when the music wants to sing, and I enjoyed this very, very much. It's you have to be in the mood. What can I tell you? You have to be in the mood for most music, but Hovaness, you really have to be in the mood because you know what you're getting, and even though it's a recipe that can seem somewhat formulaic and you know what he's doing, he can still surprise us. He does interesting things in unusual places, and it always prevents the music from becoming merely predictable. So this is on Naxos. It's really an attractive disc. And if you collect Hovaness, or if you know, or if you're curious, or you want to hear some really pretty contemporary music, contemporary, it's the 1950s for the Concerto. So we're already talking 70 years ago. It's like, but it's still contemporary. We're talking in geological time. It's contemporary. So give it a shot and keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.